This is the Rich Report, bringing you the richest content across sports. And welcome to the weekend preview. Every Thursday and Friday, I go over the biggest sporting events that will take place over the next few days in the weekend on Saturday and Sundays. So let's get right into it for this weekend. First up in the NBA, the Celtics and the Lakers are the Saturday night primetime game on ABC. That is at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Have the Celtics truly recovered? We can find out a lot about that when they take on the Lakers in LA. And does any Laker care anymore other than Josh Hart, who, although has had a couple of blunders in his last few games, has the only one that's really shown any sort of, no pun intended, heart in recent times, ever since the Lakers have really quit on making the playoffs. And then the following day on Sunday, we have the Pacers versus the 76ers. That is the showcase game on ABC. That is at 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. Are the Pacers a real threat to steal the East from one of the big four? That being the Raptors, the Celtics, the 76ers, and the Bucks. We'll find out. The Pacers are the third seed right now, so I'm very impressed with what they've done so far without their star, Victor Oladipo. And finally, Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, is the Bucks versus the Spurs. Spurs are fighting for the 7th seed with the Clippers. There's some leeway between the 7th, 8th, and then the 9th seed. It's about 4 games back to the Kings in 9th. Spurs are really fighting the Clippers. They are tied for the 7th seed. On to the MLB. Bryce Harper will make his first plate appearance for the Phillies on Saturday at 1:05 p.m. Eastern Time. I think those games are on ESPN or ESPN Plus, one of those, or your local Phillies network in Philadelphia. Bryce Harper's first game as a Philly. In the NHL, a lot of big games playoff-wise coming up this weekend. We've got the Blues versus the Sharks battle out in the Western Conference. That is Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. The Penguins versus the Blue Jackets. They had their first of a home-and-home series, and on Saturday, they will go to Columbus for the last of that series. The Penguins right now are the top wild card, while the Blue Jackets are right outside. Big battle in terms of the playoff picture in the East. The Hurricanes and Predators, that is Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The fight to secure a playoff spot is really on the line for the Hurricanes. They try to maintain the momentum that they've had after a hot streak recently. They will try to keep that up against the Predators. On Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN Plus, the Jets versus the Capitals, two teams that are pretty much secured for the playoffs. Right after that on Sunday, also 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on NBCSN, we have the Bruins and the Penguins. Bruins fighting for top spot in the East. Penguins trying to hold on to a wild card spot. And to wrap up hockey on Sunday, we have the Golden Knights and the Flames. Flames trying to hold that top seed in the West. That game is also Sunday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. In the NFL, the trade might happen on Friday, but the Antonio Brown trade watch is hot right now. We have to keep an eye out on where Antonio Brown is going. A lot of people say he's going to the Oakland Raiders. They need a superstar, but we don't know until most likely tomorrow. We will find out either Friday or at some point Saturday and Sunday where Antonio Brown will be going. College basketball, best time of year for basketball. It's March Madness time. A lot of teams still on the bubble or are uncertain about where they stand in March Madness. Auburn can really solidify an at-large if they can win against number 5 Tennessee at home. That game is Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. The Volunteers will be clearly out of the 1-seed conversation if they lose that game. Also, we have Texas Tech, the 8th-ranked team. They are taking on Iowa State. Iowa State also another bubble team. That game is also Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. That is on ESPN News. The biggest games of the weekend, Duke versus North Carolina. North Carolina won the first matchup. Zion, I believe, is not expected to play. That game is 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. They're also fighting for an overall 1 seed in March Madness. Right after that is the big rivalry between Michigan and Michigan State. That game is Saturday right after Duke and North Carolina at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. And on Sunday, we have Houston versus Cincinnati, two ranked AAC teams at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I believe that game will either be on CBS or CBS Sports Network. And we are punching some tickets this weekend to March Madness. Conference tournament finals take place in the Ohio Valley Conference, the Big South, the Missouri Valley, and the Atlantic Sun. On to some soccer. Not a lot going on this weekend with all the madness of Champions League. Bayern and Dortmund play this weekend. They're not playing each other, but they are tied at the top of the Bundesliga table. So that's an intriguing thing to watch if you're interested in German football. Also on Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time on NBC is Arsenal versus Manchester United. Those two clubs are battling out for the fourth spot. That is for Champions League. On to the UFC. UFC has a card in Wichita this Saturday on ESPN+. It is headlined by heavyweights Derek Lewis and Junior Dos Santos. Is there anything left for JDS to prove? I don't see where he goes if he gets a win over Derek Lewis. The heavyweight division is so light. I mean, who knows? JDS may fight for the title again, and he's washed up. And also, does Derek Lewis winning really hold any weight as long as DC is champion? Who knows what the heavyweight division will look like once DC retires and whenever he chooses to retire. Because Derek Lewis is for sure not fighting Daniel Cormier again after what we saw last November. That's not going to happen again. Some fighters to watch on Saturday night. I have Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, a welterweight, 6-1 in the UFC. He is taking on another guy that you should watch in Curtis Millender. That is a great fight. That is the co-main event of the entire card. Also, two other fighters to watch. Nico Price, he is on the main card, and Anthony Rocco Martin. On to some NASCAR. The Cup Series and the Xfinity Series are back at ISM Raceway for the first of two races throughout the season in Phoenix. The Cup Series package, they are now back to 750 horsepower, unlike the new package that has them at only 550 horsepower. Everything else is the same. The splitters are still high. I'm not sure about the aero ducts or anything else, but I know that the speed is put back in the cars, but who knows what will happen with the downforce. You might see some record-breaking qualifying and practice times. My pick for the weekend is Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick has mastered Phoenix. Whatever he's doing, he's going to keep doing it this weekend. I haven't picked. And my dark horse is Chase Elliott. In the last three races, Chase Elliott has had a car that could win. Should have won the race in 2017, but blew that to Matt Kenseth. I was at both races in 2018. He would have cycled out as the leader, but he couldn't hold off Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch and finished third. And then at the race that would have guaranteed his spot in the championship 4, he ended up getting a speeding penalty and then was involved in the big wreck that took out guys like Kurt Busch and Denny Hamlin. So Chase Elliott is my dark horse since he will have a fast car once again at ISM Raceway. Those races are on Fox Saturday and Sunday. The IndyCar season is back. Like always, they kick off the season with the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg in Florida. Scott Dixon will look for his 6th championship. Fernando Alonso is the guy to watch as he switches over from Formula One. That race is on NBCSN, I believe, sometime in the early afternoon on Sunday. And finally, we will close with a boxing match, a big boxing match that takes place this weekend. That is Sean Porter versus Yordenis Ugas for the WBC welterweight title. That fight is Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. Thank you for listening to the weekend preview. Make sure to tune in to all the events this weekend. If you prefer a written form, I will put a link in the description for my blog on everything that is going down this weekend in sports.